Hello, everyone. Brian Gockel here, Weather Service Office of Observations. Welcome to the Satellite Book Club Seminar Series. This is session number 245. Today's presentation is Building a Weather-Ready Nation by Charlie Woodrum. Our facilitator today is Matt Foster from the Tower Rest team. We're fortunate to have Charlie and Matt here, two experts in the field. A few reminders before we get started. The session's being recorded as usual. Please see the pinned message in the chat, which describes some Privacy Act information. And also, as usual, we'll take Q&A at the end of the presentation. Please post your questions in the chat. And if you're interested in presenting, the Tower Rest team will drop a link in the chat. And here it comes. Fill out the form, and we'll be glad to help you host a future session or facilitate. If you have any feedback on the book club session, please also see the chat for a feedback form. We welcome your feedback. Training assistance is available from the Office of the Chief Learning Officer. Please contact Ross Van Til if you have questions. We thank them. And we also thank the GEO and the LEO program for their support of the Tower Rest team and other satellite-related projects. Now let's introduce today's speaker, Charlie. Charlie Woodrum is the Preparedness and Resilience Lead at NWS headquarters, overseeing the Storm Ready and Weather Ready Nation and Skywarn programs. Previously, he served as the meteorologist in charge at Pueblo, Colorado, and as the Warning Coordination Meteorologist in Shreveport, Louisiana, where he led responses to tornado outbreaks, hurricanes, and extreme cold. Charlie has driven key initiatives such as the Deployment Ready Training Program, Storm Ready Modernization, and NOAA's Lightning Safety Standards. He has held roles across multiple NWS regions and holds a meteorology degree from Florida State University. And now I'll hand it over to our presenter, Charlie, to begin today's Satellite Book Club seminar.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Brian. I'm excited to be here with everyone today to talk about building a weather-ready nation. As Brian introduced, in my career, I've worked with the National Weather Service for 18 years now, and have worked all over the agency. I started my career in Ohio, worked in Pennsylvania as a forecaster in Western Pennsylvania. Spent some time early on in Washington, D.C. as the Program Coordination Officer for the Weather Service. And I also got to work out in Hawaii and for the Pacific region of the Weather Service, which were great opportunities to get to learn about a lot of different parts of our country and how our local offices are serving them. More recently, as the Warning Coordination Meteorologist in Shreveport, Louisiana, we went through a ton of weather, lots of high impact weather events that we worked through together at that office, and more recently at the Pueblo office. So I'm excited about this opportunity to help the Weather Service, help NOAA, help our partners, help everyone understand what building a weather-ready nation means and how we can all help this and push forward with this next chapter in building a weather-ready nation. So as we move forward to the next slide, the question comes up, are we weather-ready? Are we a weather-ready nation yet? The weather-ready nation program rolled out in 2011. Some may remember the April tornado outbreak that really led to a lot of high impact, high-end EF4, EF5 tornadoes that devastated the Deep South, and particularly locations in Alabama. The Tuscaloosa, Alabama tornado in 2011 helped underline the need for building a weather-ready nation and going beyond just issuing great warnings with lots of lead time, but making sure our communities are taking action with that and know what to do and have multiple ways to get our watches, warnings, and advisories. And then ultimately they get that information, then they take action on it, right? We want to make sure people are moving to higher ground when there's a flood, finding the safest place when there's a tornado, evacuating before a hurricane, and making sure they're informed on what to do and how to do it and when. So, you know, the question comes up, are we weather ready yet? And I think just if we look at events over the last year, less than a year now, you can look at Hurricane Helene back in September of last year, Hurricane Milton the Los Angeles fires. I'm thinking about the Pacific Palisades community and so many others in California. And then just a couple weeks or almost a month ago now, Texas flooding along the Guadalupe River there 4th of July weekend. And the answer is no, right? Like and I think the realization is we have to keep working to build a weather ready nation. We're never going to truly be weather ready as a whole nation, because there's always going to be new people coming into positions, new children that need to learn, that we need to educate, that we need to help understand what the National Weather Service does and how we help people save lives and protect property, right? I mean, we think about, I think the Texas flooding on the Guadalupe River with over 130 lives that were lost touched everyone in our country, touched their heart. You know, you think about all the young lives that were lost in that flooding event, and you think about literally, like, some of the stories were really hard to read, right? Like the stories of a child who doesn't know how to swim yet being ripped out of their mom's arms and swept away with the floodwaters because they rose so fast that people didn't know what to do. And I think that over given that it happened overnight, the timing of the event, it was really a perfect storm of societal impacts, right? And I honestly think that there is more we can do. And I think it touches all of our hearts of, like, what more can we do, right? Like, how can we make an impact so things like this don't happen? And so I wanted to have that kind of be the crux of the presentation today, is like, what can we do going beyond issuing watches, warnings, and advisories, which we do a lot of and we do well, and how can we make that difference in our communities? So if you look at, like, what we do and why we do it, you can see how active 2024 was as a summary as a whole. The National Weather Service issued 21,100 severe thunderstorm warnings, 475 severe thunderstorm watches, over 3,600 tornado warnings, 250 tornado watches, 4,400 flash flood warnings, 4,100 river flood warnings, and then fires, obviously another big one. Don't want to overlook that and all the impacts we've had from fire. Over 35,000 spot forecasts were issued in 2024, with 207 IMET, incident meteorologist deployments to help provide weather support for those fires. So very active. We had over 1,700 confirmed tornadoes, which was the second most since 2004, and the most EF2 plus and EF3 plus since 2011. And so many of us remember 2011 as being such an active year for weather and tornado fatalities. So I can't help but highlight all the awesome things that our National Weather Service employees are doing out in the field. And I've been there myself. I've slept in the office overnight whenever in Shreveport, whenever we couldn't get around because the roads were covered with snow and ice and record-breaking cold, and it just totally messed with the infrastructure of Northwest Louisiana. Pipes frozen, no water, can't get around. We slept in the office, and we kept putting out products and putting out winter storm warnings and getting that information out to people in Louisiana that needed that, because it is truly service before self. We cared so much about making sure people got that message out. And I know there's a lot of other people that have experiences like that and have shared that, or maybe haven't shared it. Maybe they're more humble and hadn't told their story of when they had to sleep at the office multiple nights because it just wasn't safe to go home. So many stories like that during hurricanes as well, people sleeping at the office, ultimately to keep our communities safe. Ultimately, everyone is working so hard and cares so much about our mission. And you can care and have so much passion about it and issue great warnings, but then people still die, right? And you wonder, you ask those questions, why did that happen? We issued such a great forecast. What can we do to have bigger impacts so these things don't happen? And that what it comes back to is making a difference in our communities and making connections in our communities so that people take action. And so, again, looking at why are we doing this? And I think going into our communities and telling this story is so important for us all, whether you're a National Weather Service employee or a NOAA employee in another part of the agency, you don't have to work at a forecast office to be able to tell this story of why we need to build a weather-ready nation and why it's an ongoing effort. And we can't just say, we put all our efforts into it, we did a great job, we issued great warnings. We have to continue to educate people. So we're really trying to help the nation become more ready, responsive, and resilient against all different kinds of weather hazards. And we want to get Weather Ready Nation ambassadors, sign up organizations to help educate them about what we do, help them understand how the National Weather Service operates, how we are 24/7, how we issue products, how we do decision support services for emergency management and our key partners in order to get them to take action. We want to educate organizations, whether it's a Walmart, a barbershop, a private organization. We want to educate them so then they can tell everyone in their community of influence, their organization, their families, their friends. So make sure they understand what the National Weather Service is doing and share our preparedness plans with these organizations that are Weather Ready Nation ambassadors. If they have a plan and they have the latest and greatest from us on how to make a plan, then they're ultimately thinking about those ways of what actions do I need to take? Who do I need to make a phone call to? We're under a tornado watch, and there's a tornado a couple counties upstream that's headed our way. It's confirmed on the ground. Who do I need to call right now to make sure they get to a safe place? And taking those little actions like that add up a lot if you think about it. If we're able to get out in our communities and educate and make those connections, we know, and the previous messaging is we cannot do this alone. We know as Weather Service employees, there's just over 4,000 of us, around 4,000, that we can only have so much impact in our communities. And it's a team effort with our partners, with our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors and other NOAA employees to help build a Weather Ready Nation, make those connections in our communities, ultimately educate everyone on what this is about and how we can work together, message through social media. There's so many different things we can do. Next slide. Okay, if you go to the next slide and on to the next one. There we go. So Weather Ready Nation Ambassadors was founded in 2014. We now have over 13,500 Weather Ready Nation ambassadors. And the focus is moving forward with more substantive actions now. Signing up a Weather Ready Nation ambassador is great, but we ultimately want to highlight and prompt action. Like, we want to highlight the good things that Weather Ready Nation ambassadors are doing, and then we ultimately want to prompt action from our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors, get them involved with preparedness messaging, get them involved with making sure that their community has a plan, their organization has a plan, and that their employees are aware of that. So we have the wrn.feedback@noaa.gov account that's out there for both internal and external emails for our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors and for preparedness. So you can, a lot of times those emails get forwarded to the local Weather Service offices, warning coordination meteorologists, or their office POC. So next slide. So what are the benefits of becoming a Weather Ready Nation ambassador? And that's part of the pitch is when you go out into the community. I've heard people tell me, like, I feel like a car salesman whenever I go out and talk about Weather Ready Nation ambassadors, and it shouldn't feel that way. It's ultimately, there's a lot more to it about being passionate about what we do and talking about who we are, how we operate, and educating people about what the National Weather Service does and how they can help. And that's the big thing, is people want to help us. They want to help make their communities safer. And there's a lot of ways they can do that. Consistency in messaging. Beyond what we're just issuing from our products and putting out there in social media and messaging and decision support, we want our partners doing that too. Because if someone's seeing it, hearing it, getting it from multiple places, the social science tells us that that is how someone's going to take action, is hearing it from multiple places, multiple sources, to confirm what they're hearing is true and that they need to take action. So consistency in messaging and getting the message from multiple places is so important. Not everyone follows us on social media. We can't just assume everyone, just because we put a message out on Facebook or X, that everybody sees it, right? But a lot of people are on social media and might see it somewhere else. So we have to use those force multipliers that can help us get that message out to so many others. And highlight the contributions of our partners too. Make sure they know what, when they do something great, they set up a preparedness plan in their community, that we are highlighting that so that they understand, like, yeah, this is a good thing. We need to do more of this. And then other organizations see it and can do that too. It really fosters innovative opportunities. We have organizations that are working with us to develop that develop apps, private organizations, and they want to take our weather information and package that in a way that can help people be safe. So it's beyond weather. Like there's some apps out there that are looking at health impacts, but they want to include weather with it. So really good stuff out there working with our partners. Again, we have over 13,500 ambassadors, but it's more than just signing someone up, right? We got to take the next steps and the actions with it of what comes next. Next slide. And part of that, the benefits of becoming a Weather Ready Nation ambassador is that they are linked into the latest preparedness messaging from the National Weather Service. So here's just several different examples of different messages and graphics that we put out there that we want our ambassadors using, and again, amplifying our message, being an extension of our network, and getting this information out to more people. Next slide. So we also want to inform our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors about what the National Weather Service of tomorrow looks like. So we are transforming how we operate to better serve the nation. We want to be more nimble, flexible, mobile, and eye-to-eye, and ultimately make sure that our communities understand what we're doing and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to be there on-site, embedded with our partners of the National Weather Service in order to help them make decisions. Sitting in an emergency operations center with a decision maker, getting out a decision support services briefing to an emergency manager several days in advance before high impact weather, so they can make a decision whether or not they need to activate their emergency operations center. We have so many great opportunities ahead. I think our agency obviously is going through a lot of change right now, but there's a lot of opportunity with that for us to be more efficient, streamline our operations, have technology that allows us to operate from anywhere and provide a weather forecast from anywhere, and give us more adaptability and flexibility with that, and support our core partners ultimately wherever they need us when they ask for it. And whether it's virtual or on site, we want to be there for those decision makers as they're making those decisions for our communities, and for organizations like our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors, calling for evacuation orders, making sure that roads are closed when flash flooding threatens. There's so many actions that are taken in our communities when high impact weather comes into play that we can really make a difference. Again, but we can't do it alone. It can't just be National Weather Service employees. It takes a lot more of that, getting involved with our whole community in order to do that. We want to keep our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors informed on what this step to the future operating model as it's being defined looks like. So in the 90s, Weather Service was developing and going through its own modernization, where Weather Service offices were built and strategically placed around where our radars were, right? Where our 88D Doppler radars were. And as we develop with technology, we're going through this transformation in the 2020s where we're building the future and transforming with the Weather Service to the needs of our partners and the communities that we serve. So ultimately, we're going to be thinking towards and moving our strategy towards that future of that 2020 transformation of thinking about where our federal partners are, where our state partners, where our emergency managers are, and making sure we're in spots to help them make decisions where we can easily get on site with them, eye to eye, nimble and flexible, be available to them. So some of those challenges sometimes can be like right in the previous Weather Service structure, it's hard to get to a partner that's 2 or 3 hours away, right? So we're thinking about how can we transform to that so there's more easier accessibility for Weather Service employees to connect with their partners. Next slide, and next slide. Next slide, please. So we want to stay up to speed with our future, and keep our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors informed with what comes next, with operational advancements, artificial intelligence, as we start to use Gemini AI and all the great things that come with that. We want to make sure our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors are up to speed with the latest and greatest of how we're leveraging AI to streamline what we do, make our work more efficient, and ultimately make ourselves available for on-site decision support services for our partners. And as technology and as we continue to innovate with technology with our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors, we want to make sure they're all informed on what the future of our agency looks like and how they can help. Next slide. So these partnerships, we can build a Weather Ready Nation with innovative partnerships, and it is a broad spectrum of different types of partners we can engage with. If you're thinking about who locally could I help become a Weather Ready Nation ambassador, it goes anything from government, state, local, federal entities to emergency management to schools. Academia could be any level of school, a high school, a college. There's so much of a big impact that we can do by helping our school systems out in our communities with planning. We've seen children die in schools from weather hazards in the past, right? And that obviously is something that we want to help become more resilient to and help all of our schools plan. You constantly have new people coming into schools that don't completely understand how to make a weather plan. So again, we can't get complacent. We have to continue building a Weather Ready Nation, continue working to make sure these people are informed on how to make a weather plan. We have the private sector, the broadcast media. So much is changing with the media today. We've got a lot of digital media partners out there that are streaming information. We want to make sure they're putting out safety information and the latest from our agency, as they're have so many followers that are watching what they do. And then social scientists that helping us understand. We want to make sure they're linked to this whole process so they help us understand how our partners operate, what they react to, how to prompt action, how to get people to react to the products we issue. Next slide. So here's just a couple examples of different Weather Ready Nation ambassadors that are out there and some of the unique partnerships that we have. Lamar is one example I'll use. We work with them closely, and I know other offices in the National Weather Service have worked with them too. They actually had 10 different messages in their loop of messages that they would put up in boards in Shreveport, Louisiana. And there were 2 slots that they had that were just for public safety messaging. No cost to put that up on their boards. They had them reserved for that, and they weren't using them. And so we reached out to them about the Weather Ready Nation Ambassador Program. And through that partnership, they said, well, what messages should we put up on our boards? And so we leveraged some different templates that had been used at other offices, and we were able to get that messaging up and set up a system where, for example, when a watch goes out for a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch, that prompts an action for these Lamar boards. Or say when the Storm Prediction Center has a moderate risk out for day 2, that prompts an action the day before, just like the message you see on that board, be prepared, severe weather this weekend, to help get that messaging out, help get it a different way for people to get severe weather messaging, to help things click. I don't normally see someone that's in Shreveport, for example, driving down the road. That's interesting. I don't normally see a severe weather message on that board. I better look into this more. I've been hearing more people talk about severe weather. And then the watch comes out the next day. It's like, oh yeah, that's what everyone's been talking about. This is going to be a big event potentially. We better make sure we watch this closely. We've got other great partners out there, Tanger outlets, all kinds of different outlets all across the country that have weather safety plans. And then We Health is another one. They have a health app that they've developed called the PH app, and they take National Weather Service products and they disseminate information through their app as a Weather Ready Nation ambassador. So great stuff. There's still lots of room for growth in this area with organizations. Next slide. And to do that, we'll highlight our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors of excellence. In the past, we've done this. It just highlights the best examples of organizations that aren't just signing up to be Weather Ready Nation ambassadors. They're taking action. They're developing plans. They're working with the Weather Service office to increase their ready responsiveness and resilience, right, to high impact events. So this is another way that we highlight that. Next slide. So as we move forward with building a weather-ready nation and preparing communities, the Storm Ready program historically has been a great program for National Weather Service offices to engage with their emergency management offices and other entities with emergency manager roles to develop plans for what was primarily focused on as severe weather. And thus, a lot of people had viewed Storm Ready in the past as a preparedness program for thunderstorms, for hazards related to thunderstorms. And it kind of comes with that connotation. If you look at the logo, you see a storm cloud on it. It says storm in the name. A lot of people just think, oh, this is about developing plans for severe weather. But the future of the Storm Ready, we really want to have this in a mode where it's revamped so that we're working with emergency managers to develop plans for all hazards and make them weather ready, not just storm ready, whether it's high winds, extreme cold, extreme heat, fires. There's all kinds of hazards beyond thunderstorm hazards that are out there. And so that is just a glimpse at what we're looking at as we move forward and modernize the Storm Ready program and take the next step with that. Next slide. We're also working with the USGS as they've proposed to build a hazard ready nation. They have a proposal to come out with something similar to Weather Ready Nation called Hazard Ready Nation for earthquakes, landslides, and volcanoes, geological threats. So we want to be closely linked to the USGS with this as they develop it, make sure that they're messaging Weather Ready Nation and we're doing it for Hazard Ready Nation, vice versa. Again, this is something that's proposed. They'd like to roll out something similar to Weather Ready Nation, follow our footsteps with Hazard Ready Nation in the future. Next slide. All right, so what can you do now to help someone become a Weather Ready Nation ambassador? How can you get an organization signed up? If you go to weather.gov/WRN/ambassadors, you can lead them in there to a partner or a private organization, whoever it might be, have them click apply through that, accept our Weather Ready Nation ambassador terms, and fill out the Google form application. That's the quickest way to do it. I've had experiences in the past going out to local emergency planning committee meetings, LEPCs, and meeting with a bunch of different partners at once and giving them a paper version of the Weather Ready Nation ambassador application. They fill it out, hand it back to you, and you fill out the Google form for them when you come back. That's been also an effective way. Sometimes you'll give this information out to a partner or to an organization. They say, oh, that sounds great, I'd love to do it, but they don't do it there in the moment, and then they never get back to it. So the follow through on our end is important, and a paper application has been a way to collect the information from a partner and help them fill that out and become a Weather Ready Nation ambassador. So that's another method that can be taken to help people build a Weather Ready Nation and get these organizations signed up. Next slide. So thanks everyone for your time. Appreciate the opportunity to share the latest with building a Weather Ready Nation. We are taking an important step here, I think, with the transformation of our agency, and that's going to be the next chapter of building a Weather Ready Nation. As technology continues to improve, we continue to integrate AI into what we do. People still are going to need us, that human element, to help them take action and help them understand what we do and learn about what we do. A lot of it's exposure too, just knowing who the National Weather Service is and how we can how we can help that organization out. Something I do as an extra thing in my evenings is I'm a basketball coach for a high school, and in the high school system, interacting with kids, interacting with parents, coaches, athletic directors, you see how much people don't completely understand what the National Weather Service does. We can't just make assumptions that people understand our mission. And so we'll have to continue to educate and help people understand how we can help them make decisions and build a Weather Ready Nation. So thanks everybody for your time. My email address is here if you have any questions. And there's also some links here for Weather Ready Nation, the Storm Ready program, Skywarn program, and lightning safety toolkits. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie, for your presentation, taking the time to join us today. So remind everyone, if you have questions for Charlie, drop them in the the in-call chat room there. Before we get to those questions, just a couple of reminders here to see myself and Charlie. Go under the settings, those three dots at the bottom, and then it may say change layout. On mine, it actually says adjust view. And then down at the bottom, be sure you've turned on the hide tiles without video, so you can see myself and Charlie. In 1 week from today, on August 7th, we'll have Jarrell Torres on JPSS on his recent visits to weather forecast offices, training resources, and data access updates. If you have any questions about the SBC or Tower S satellite products, contact Sheila Kupai from the Tower S team. And once again, if you have any questions for Charlie, just drop them in the chat and we will get to those. Just to kind of kick off the discussion here, Charlie, you know, I was a weather service employee, but I'm not now. I've moved over into a contractor role with Tower S. And so I don't directly work in weather anymore. So how could I or other people that might be on the call that aren't directly involved in issuing forecasts and warnings and so forth, how could we get involved in building a weather ready nation?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can. Anyone can sign up a Weather Ready Nation ambassador. You don't just have to work at a local weather forecast office. Anybody can share the information of the application and encourage an organization that they work with to become a Weather Ready Nation ambassador. So you can be advocates for the National Weather Service and for Weather Ready Nation. And by signing up ambassadors, it doesn't just have to come from a National Weather Service employee. It's a public website that anybody can access. Anybody could, any organization could stumble upon Weather Ready Nation ambassadors and sign up. So you guys can help us amplify the message, help extend that network by educating and letting more people know that Weather Ready Nation ambassadors exist.
Great. And I meant to say a minute ago, Charlie, that I think this whole discussion is really timely in light of, you know, you showed some really high impact events that we've had here over the past year or so, and you know, Weather Ready Nations has been around since, what'd you say, 2014, I believe. But you know, with these high impact events in memory, and you know, our upcoming changes through ops model and so forth, I think this presentation is really timely. So once again, thank you for sharing all this with us. So where do you think the country as a whole has the most room for improvement?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with understanding that they need to have multiple ways to get our watches, warnings, and advisories. Multiple ways, and not just rely on one way, right? Like, I think a lot of people, again, complacency comes in, like, oh, everything comes up on my phone. When I get a wireless emergency alert on my phone, I'm good. I'm good for weather. If something bad's going to happen, I'll just get a buzz on my phone. But what if you don't have a phone signal where you're at? We don't have complete coverage across the United States. And that you know, poses the question, how do we get that, right? How can we leverage satellites to issue WEAs to make sure everybody's getting these key wireless emergency alerts? It's such a great way to touch so many people, but if there's no phone signal, then they can't get it. I've been on tornado surveys in East Texas where there was no phone signal. The tornado warning was issued with plenty of lead time, but people didn't get it just because they didn't have multiple ways. They didn't have a NOAA weather radio. They didn't have an alternate to their phone to get the warning. So I think multiple ways and innovation with technology to make sure people are getting WEAs, I think, is where we can really improve with preparedness.
Yeah, and Joe Fiore posted in the chat here that NOAA Weather Radio still has a role in getting those alerts out, and sometimes that can be available in some of those more remote areas where maybe cell phone coverage isn't great. So that's a good point there, Joe. There was in the Q&A section of the chat here, someone posted and said, completely agree about advocating for weather service and weather safety. How do you communicate weather safety during inclement weather? I have found that leading by example does not work. Does not work. For example, leaving my car during a lightning event. How can you balance education and action? So I think we're kind of getting into, those outreach activities and how best to educate the public.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we can educate the public. Getting more Weather Ready Nation ambassadors and sharing educational information to them to make sure they're sharing that within their organization is very helpful. We have Skywarn spotter presentations, but I think like part of it too is with our messaging coming from the National Weather Service. It's our tone, it's our urgency, it's how we communicate it to the public and to our partners that then is going to show how serious of an event it is or how serious that hazard threat is. Like if you are briefing someone, a partner, and you brief them year after year, and that you have that relationship developed, they can tell when you're have a worried sound on your voice, or when you're getting really serious, getting emotional about something, because it could be really bad. And it's those senses, right? It's like, it's understanding that human connection, and showing that, I think, is so important. Having a face for the Weather Service or for meteorologists, for people in the community that are trying to prompt action and connecting with that. A lot of it's education. Like, we can't get away from educating new people, young kids that just don't know yet, right? Like, we have to continue to push that and make sure people know. Like, for example, with lightning one, that fully metal, fully enclosed vehicle is a safe place to be in a lightning storm. Some people don't realize that, or might think that it's dangerous to be in their car and that they need to go inside a structure. So the education pieces like that are important. So we have to, and again, the Weather Service only can have so much reach in our communities. We've got to get it out through our ambassadors in order to truly reach all of our communities.
Yeah, and that really gets to the eye-to-eye piece of the evolution of ops models. So I think that that human connection is really important. Another, I think this is a great question, came up in the chat here. Somebody that works at a CWSU and wonders how they could get the FAA involved to become part of what, because of course weather and aviation are kind of inextricably linked with each other, and he's wondering how perhaps he could work to try and get the FAA involved, and where he might start with that.
I think that would be a really good conversation with Jen Struzis. She's the warning coordination meteorologist at the Aviation Weather Center. I think that you would have some really good ideas, Ken, for you guys to do that. So I would imagine there's a contact pretty common at larger FAA facilities that deals with external affairs or engagements with other agencies, and Jen can help you get connected there.
Yeah, and I know Jen pretty well, and she would be a great contact, and I think she would have some great ideas for how to launch that. It's something else I was thinking, and this kind of goes along with this intergovernmental relationships, the FAA, like Ken was talking about here, and the USGS program you mentioned, Charlie, and it made me wonder, where would we just had a major earthquake with a threat of tsunamis. Where does tsunamis fall in? Is that something that the Weather Service is taking on under the umbrella of Weather Ready Nation? It seems there's obviously a very strong connection there between the tsunami warning centers and USGS. So do you know if there's interaction at play there?
Yes, yes. When we talk about all hazards, it's all hazards that the Weather Service issues products on. So we issue the tsunami warnings, watches, and advisories, and ultimately that's linked to the Weather Service. So we can help educate people on the Tsunami Ready program, on tsunami preparedness actions, ways to get ready, and plan an evacuation route. So we play a big role in the dissemination of those products, and we can play a big role in preparedness for tsunamis while they aren't a traditional, they're not a weather hazard, right? But they're still under our umbrella of responsibility, and that we can still make an impact with preparedness for tsunamis. I know they've made great strides and efforts in American Samoa, working with their communities. The Weather Service has, along with the Hawaiian Islands and Guam, have made some really good strides with educating people in the communities on what to do when a tsunami threatens.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And when you said, that the tsunamis aren't actually a weather hazard, it makes me think about fires, which you mentioned fire threat, and we do a lot there, and the great work that's been done, out of the Norman office and others, as far as using the latest technology and satellite imagery. And this is a little bit of a selfish question because I'm part of the Tower S team, and we do focus on satellites. How do you think the evolution of satellite technology through, as we went from the NOP satellites into GOES-R, and then possibly in the future, additional enhancements from GeoXO in several years. How do you see that impacting the Weather Ready Nation program?
Yeah, so with developments in satellite technology, we want to make sure our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors are educated on that, and that they understand how getting higher resolution satellite data and getting it in faster time steps and being able to use it to detect lightning and to detect hot spots with fires. We have to continue to educate our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors on how we use that technology and where they can view that information, high resolution satellite data from a web page, and how to get to that. Because a lot of the general public, someone that might sign up to be an ambassador, they're not going to know that. We can't assume that they know that, and that way they understand the incredible improvements we've had with satellite technology and how we use that. So it's really building that connection to our ambassadors so we can educate them on our services, on our data, and how that they can use it to help them out too.
Great. Yeah, I love that. And once again, just kind of wrapping up here, Weather Ready Nation's been around for quite a while, but it's just increasingly more important as we have these highly impactful events, and with the changes on the horizon from ops model and everything, Weather Ready Nation is just going to become more and more relevant, I think. So once again, Charlie, thank you so much for your time. A couple of Shreveport veterans getting together here. I was in Shreveport for several years, and then Charlie was the WCM after I left. So good to have you on here. And with that, I will turn it back over to Brian for some closing remarks.
Hey, thanks so much, Matt. Really appreciate that. Didn't know you had a shared history. I know everyone joins me in thanking Matt for facilitating today, and also for thanking Charlie for this talk on his work, dedication, and enthusiasm for Weather Ready Nation, Weather Ready, Storm Ready Nation, Hazard Ready Nation. It was a great update, even for those of us who've been around a while. So thanks very much for that, Charlie. Hey, as Matt announced earlier, please join us a week from today which is Thursday, August 7th. And Jarrell Torres is going to update us on JPSS. He's got some information on training, data access, and other topics. So we know that'll be another great presentation. We look forward to seeing you there. And with that, we'll wrap up today's call. Thanks for your participation.